I'm Jai Singh and I'm 9 years old, and I currently live in Columbia, South Carolina, and we're going to be breaking down my round 2 at the Charleston Classic. So here I'm throwing a 150 destroyer and trying to clear the OB. This is a pretty tough hole since you got to clear the OB and pretty much don't go too far since there's a wake behind it. And I park it there. And this is a pretty tough hole since there's a bunch of trees and the Spanish moss. And I don't quite get the skip I need. So I just lay up and get my par. And I almost put it in there. And here I am on hole 3. This is a tough hole to birdie since you can't go OB into the pond, but there's OB behind the basket. And I throw a backhand here and pitch up and get my par again. And this hole is an island hole. So I throw my Birdie Williams Baby Destroyer and I park it, and now I have this really tall putt that I just barely make. And I have a pretty hard time getting it down from there. And I try and clear, and I just clear the lake on hole 5. And now I throw my 150 destroyer again and let it skip on back. And now I just way up and get my par again. This hole's about 300 feet. Now I just turn it over and there's more water to the right, so I didn't want to make it fade out too much. And I tap the pole there. And then I put it in. And now here's my backhand that I pure straight down the middle. This is a pretty tricky hole since you gotta fade to the right, like gradually, not too fast or not too slow. And there's quite a few trees there. And I just walk away with the par again. And then there's me on hole 7 that I nail Spanish moss and then I go OB. And now I'm throwing my max here, and there's water behind the basket, just like 15 feet behind, and I just get through the trees and then I lay up. Double bogey. And I'm not quite sure why I took that right gap, but I nail a tree. And I have a amazing up and get a tap in par. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty good through the first 9. I'm feeling like I have to make up some strokes still. And then on hole 10, I throw in the water, so I have to go to the drop zone. And I take this one at I can't go too far since there's tons of water behind the basket, but I nail a tree that saved me from going in the water. Now and there's quite a bit of wind coming, so I make this amazing putt that just stayed in the basket. Now here I am throwing in a really gusty headwind, just trying to get over the pond. And I nailed that sign. I even bent it a little bit. And I have to move it. And now I'm throwing a Scorpius again, the same disc I threw up the drive, and I turn it over a little bit and hit a tree up there on the left. And I just decide to lay up and tap it in for par. And I get a little skip off that root. I'm not quite sure why I'm throwing a Firebird, but it's only about 150 feet, and I just need to lay up since I need to throw over the water on the next shot. So I throw over the water with my Evelina Solonin Destroyer, and I get this huge air bounce. And now I throw my Calvin Heimberg Toro, and I just pitch it up to the basket and take a par. And then I throw that same Destroyer and go OB with it. Pretty bad shot. And now I throw a Calvin Heimberg Toro again. And chain out. But that's a pretty hard basket to get in since it's in the ground. And now I throw a roller here that's really far. And I have redemption from my first round since I got a 10 last time. And now I throw a really 151 beat up turn. And now I throw another roller again with a Baby Destroyer. And it goes into the woods, and I just pitch up and get a par. And that's my redemption from last round. Now I throw a Scorpius, and I launch it up, and it just hits a tree. And just pitch up and get a par. And now I throw a Destroyer, and it goes OB. And I throw a drop from the drop zone, and I go OB again. And I put it in. Now I'm throwing a Champion's Landing Destroyer. It fades out, and I just pitch up and get a par again.
What's up, y'all? Jai's mic just cut out, so this is me editing. Nice putt there to close out his par. He really hasn't missed any putts all day. Missed that one, I guess, circle's edge, but for the most part, especially in MA3, collecting a lot of strokes. Pretend we didn't see that one. Tough spot to scramble from with the elevated pin. Throws a nice shot, but it's going to leave him with a 60-foot death putt. Just going to lay that one up. and then close out his round. Nice one. So Jai currently sits 6 strokes back of the winning score in MA3 going into round 3. Definitely doable. Kid's got the game. See if he can do it. We'll see you there.